Hi guys, this is Tamara, and I just wanted to take a few minutes and review our history curriculum that we used this year for homeschooling. It was our first year using history, American history, in our homeschool, um, and we've been homeschooling for 4 years. So this year I had a second grader and a third grader, and we used our Spangled story, which is geared towards kindergarten through fourth grade. So it fit in nicely with the ages of my kids. And it came highly recommended in homeschool groups that I'm a part of. And it looked really easy to do. So that's why I bought it this year. So I wanted to do a quick review on what I thought of the program so that people can know what to expect if they want to use it themselves. Okay? So first I'm going to start with the good things about our Star Spangled Story. It has easy, short chapters. So when you read this aloud to your kids, and I'll just show you this one here. When you read this aloud to your kids, you're going to have just a few pages of reading material out loud. Literally, like the reading material generally took me, I don't know, maybe 8 minutes to do out loud. And then once you'd get through a chapter, you would look at the map in the back, and it would have you find places on the map that were relevant to what you just read. And then you could look at their timeline. It came with this timeline here, which was a huge hit, especially with my son. And this is a wonderful piece of the curriculum because it has everything that the books talk about in an orderly fashion. So it's easy for kids to piece things together when they see the order in which events actually happened. So this was really, really good. We really enjoyed looking at the timeline. So you would read the timeline, and then on some chapters there would also be a section of rhythm and rhymes, and you would just open to the page. Like for this one, it's enjoy Psalm 1 on page 6. So you just go to page 6 quick, and it comes with a CD in the back. So everything is also recorded on audio. I never used it just because I don't have a CD player. So we either just read them out loud. It gives a little history of it. We'd either read it out loud, or if I knew the song, I would sing it. And I'm really good at singing, so the kids loved that. But there's lots of different songs. There's Yankee Doodle in here. It gives a history about that. There's lots of different poems and songs in here, which I thought was kind of fun. So some of the songs that we had never heard and some we had. So this was a great piece to have. And then after that, it would have a literature for you to read in addition to it. We did that part after the review questions. So each section had review questions on what you just read to make sure that your kids understood what they read, and then it would have usually an open-ended question at the end. And then you would have a workbook page to do. And the workbooks were awesome because it was super easy for both of my kids to do. You don't have to have good writing skills. Most of it is either coloring or drawing pictures about the lesson. This one is my daughter's. So it would tell you, give you something to draw, like draw people from different countries, include people of their various ages. Or if your child is older, you can have them write a paragraph about things that are the same and that are different for people who live in different parts of the world. And a lot of the workbook was just like that. So some of it was coloring, like color the Pueblan pottery jar. At the end of a unit, you would, it was usually like a matching question review, which was easy to do. So we did almost all of the workbook. The only part we didn't finish was towards the very end when we literally just finished this curriculum like this week. We took a sidestep and did a lot on World War II. So, so this is a great workbook, easy for all ages to do and all abilities, which is really nice. So it comes in 2 books. It has a part 1 and then part 2, and but they're both set up pretty much the exact same. The only thing that really changes is the map that you're going to use. And where's the map that we used here? We use the map more in this one than the other one. Oh, right here. All around the USA. So it would talk about different places in your lesson, and then you would find them on the map. It just gives a reference point for your children so that they know where things took place at that time. Okay. So those are some great things about this curriculum. The timeline, the easy short chapters, the rhythm and rhymes, the workbook, and the content was mostly interesting. It was nice and short. Wasn't really long for kids to sit through. And then, like I said, it comes with the literature pack. And so for each unit in the book, you would have a book to read that was set during the time frame that you just read about. And I would say that almost all of these books were excellent. We enjoyed reading almost all of them. This was my son's favorite book because he loves cats. And this was a fun read. This one here, Tolliver's Secret, was my favorite. This is about a little girl who has to take a message in bread during the Revolutionary War. They were all awesome. There's one book here that I didn't care for, and I'll talk about that one here in a little bit. Some negatives that I didn't like about this curriculum that I tried to make up for in my own literature pack that I bought in addition to it, although it wasn't perfect, but it helped a little bit. I felt that some of the content was more filler and not really important to history. And because of that, because of all this filler, I felt like they left out some important history. And, like, for example, I feel like the Native Americans are a huge part of American history. And while, of course, they talked about them, it really wasn't very much. And, like, as you can see here, most of when they did talk about the Native Americans, it was about how the white people evangelized to them. And basically, we're trying to make good relations with the Native Americans and also convert them to Christianity, which I felt was really lacking because pretty much none of this curriculum has anything from their perspective at all. And that was a huge negative for me. I feel like that was definitely lacking. So as you can see here, this is about John Eliot, missionary to the Praying Indians. This next one here is about Conrad Weiser. He's a German peacemaker to the Mohawk Indians. And pretty much everything about the Native Americans was kind of along those lines. It did talk about how there were definitely some atrocities that were committed against them, and it says that they were bad things. It does not go into a lot of detail or anything of that nature, and I really just kind of felt like that was lacking a lot in this. And then the other thing is that after you get so far in this curriculum, and definitely once you're done with the first part, the Native Americans are pretty much not mentioned at all again for the rest of the year. So that was definitely a huge negative in my book. The other thing that I felt was really lacking is once you do get into part 2, you're talking more about civil rights movement. Actually, we'll go back here to part 1. So in part 1 is when they're talking about the history of slavery and such in the United States, which I felt like they did a decent job on that. I mean, this one here is, so this is about Amos Lawrence and the fight against slavery. So it's, again, a white man who sees that Anthony Burns is being treated unfairly as a runaway slave, and so then he decides that he wants to try to abolish slavery, and that leads to Bleeding Kansas, because people wanted Kansas to be a slave state. So it does talk about Anthony Burns a little bit and what happened with that. Again, there's nothing on their perspective at all. And then even when you get into the Underground Railroad, one of the biggest things that I felt was lacking is they don't mention Harriet Tubman even once in this entire curriculum. And I felt like that bothered me so much that we actually, in my literature pack that I bought to go with it, is I actually read the story of Harriet Tubman as a biography to them, because I felt like it was really important for them to know everything that she did and everything that she went through. And her story was really interesting. There was a lot of things that I didn't know. And I just felt like that was really, really lacking. They really just, I don't know, kind of didn't hit the nail on the head with that. So anyway, they talked about the Underground Railroad a little bit, and in their literature pack, the reading for this time was Freedom Crossing, which actually I really did like. This here is about two kids whose dad is out of town, and so the daughter just moved up from the south after her mom died, and she lived on a plantation where her aunt and uncle had slaves. And so she was put in a position where she had to help a runaway 12-year-old slave in the Underground Railroad. And so a lot of this book is her wrestling with the ideology of, is slavery right or is it not? Because she has, her conscience is really trying to get to her, because she's like, wait a minute, these are, this isn't fair. He's running away, and it's not his position to do so, because that's what she was taught to believe. And then also her coming to realize that he's just a little boy just like her, and that slavery is wrong. So it's really, really good to see her wrestle with that and come to the conclusion, that slavery is wrong, and become an active member on the Underground Railroad. So I thought that was this was a really interesting book for that reason. So they picked that one really well, I thought. Now on to the next section. Okay, so then in part 2, we start to get, and here's where I feel like they added some people that I didn't think was necessary. Like, most people probably don't know who Secretary John Hay is. I never did, and don't really care. And adding people like him and Edward Isaac, I felt like they lacked other people that were important. For example, and I'll show you back here, they included people like that, but this is the entire section they have on Martin Luther King Jr. This to about there. That's it. Rosa Parks gets this much. Here's the Civil Rights Movement, gets that much. We do have a section on this whole part here, talks about Ruby Bridges, which I thought was interesting. But literally, this is really the only chapter that talks about Black history at all. And some of those, these people were instrumental in changing America, and I felt like giving whole chapters to people like, not Vernon Baker, but Edward Isaac and John Hayes was really just, I don't know, almost, I'm not going to find the, I don't know, you can come to your own conclusion, but I thought it was ridiculous. So that was a huge problem I had with that is, this is definitely told from a white European history, and I don't feel like it's well-rounded at all, really. Some of it was good. It did, obviously it had, like, important things that happen in the United States too, but it just, I didn't feel like it was very inclusive. So that's why I tried to supplement with the book on Harriet Tubman. We read The Sign of the Beaver, which a boy and a Native American befriend each other basically, and the boy is kind of making, so the Native American and his grandfather saved his life, and so in return the boy is going to teach the other boy how to read because he needs to know how to deal with the white man, and the white man is basically I guess tricking them because they can't read the contracts that they're being basically forced into. So that's kind of, and then in turn the Native American teaches him a lot about living and about his family and culture. So I tried to kind of make it up with books like that. I'm not an expert at finding books, but my daughter really liked this one. We both, actually all of us really liked it, so it was a really good read. The other ones I threw in just for fun. We read about the Oregon Trail and By the Great Horn Spoon, which is about the gold rush in California, and Ben and Me, which is about Benjamin Franklin, and I thought this was a terrible book, so it was really hard for me to get through it, but my son liked it. Basically, this mouse is supposedly smarter than Benjamin Franklin, and Benjamin Franklin is a bumbling idiot in this book, and the mouse is actually the one that invents everything. So, I don't know, I just thought it was dumb. But, and then we get to Katie, which was part of the literature package that came with our Star Spangled Story. And this is the only book in the literature package that I felt was just absolutely terrible. I didn't like it at all. As you can see, it's by Mary Evelyn Knotgrass. The curriculum is by Knotgrass, Knotgrass History. So the authors of the curriculum are the ones that basically put this book together. And essentially what Katie is about is, and this is the book that you read at the very, very end of it. So it's modern times. It's about this 8-year-old girl, I believe she's 8, and her family is deciding to homeschool their children because, let's see if I don't know if I'll be able to find it, because of the evil institution of schools and how it produces rebellious and awful children. And anyway, I couldn't handle it. It really just was, I don't know. I don't think that's a healthy perspective to have on public education. I think public education works for a lot of people, and I think that it's good for a lot of people, and so we didn't finish it. We got through chapter 6, and I was like, nope, we're done. So I guess all in all, next school year, we're actually going to be doing world history, so we won't be touching on American history until my kids are in middle school. But I like the way Knotgrass is set up, but unless they change the content and make it more well-rounded, I'm definitely not going to be doing their middle school history. I will be looking for something that is more inclusive, and so I just wanted to share this information with you because this curriculum comes highly recommended, and I wanted to let you know what I really thought about it. And while it's set up great, I do feel like the content was lacking, and it's definitely only from the perspective of white Europeans. So anyway, thanks for listening.